I'm sure there's a few uniques everybody could think of on Diablo 2 that could use a buff. Let's go over some of them. Nobody really uses Dragonscale very much, so I think that it would benefit a whole lot from some negative enemy fire resistance. That could boost it up a little bit. It could probably use some other things, but I mean, there's far more important uniques that are rarer than this. Kuko Shikaku, I think that it would benefit from some plus to fire damage, like plus fire skill damage and plus the negative enemy fire res. Something like that would be really nice. Gold skin even, maybe like plus two to skills or something desirable that would make it worth even using, more worth using during the playthrough. Maybe some magic find or something. Frostwind could use like some flat damage, some crushing blow, some critical strike. It could do maybe like higher damage in general. I think Giant Skull is actually pretty good, and it's a pretty good mercenary helmet as well, but I think it could have like +1 to skills or something. Maybe some IAS on it, so that you could have more options for the sockets. It could definitely maybe get a little bit, maybe some life leech. Then it would be a really, really viable mercenary helmet. It would be in the conversation if it had some life leech. I think Azarath, maybe if they gave Azarath some crushing blow or something, I think that would be a nice buff to that. Maybe a little bit of flat damage as well. You know, maybe not necessarily make it as strong as Grief, but make it like up there so that it's, you know, a chase item, because it is fairly rare. I'm obviously not going to go over every single item. I'm just going to go over like super rare stuff. Astrions, I think Astrions could definitely use, it could definitely use something. It could use like, maybe change the paladin combat skills to plus, make it always roll +4. Maybe not. Some people would hate that because then it makes it like less interesting. But maybe make it always roll +4 and maybe +4 to all skills rather than combat skills. That way it could be viable for other characters. And then maybe add some deadly strike onto it or something like that. Just because it's such a rare thing. Steel Carapace. I think it would be cool if they made Steel Carapace like always roll Eth. Always drop Eth so you get that insanely high 20-something hundred defense. And then maybe make it so the requirements to use it are dramatically lower. Like reduce it by like 50% or something like that. So then it would take 115 strength to use and it would be something viable. Then maybe give it something like some all res, maybe some all res and maybe some faster cast rate or something. I definitely know Steel Carapace would be really cool if it always dropped Eth. That would be pretty cool in my opinion. I think Rune Master should maybe have like IAS, crushing blow, and deadly strike, just because of the way that melee weapons work and everything. Those things are all so important. Bonehew should probably have some crushing blow on it. Honestly, Bonehew should have some crushing blow on it. And it should probably also crushing blow and maybe some life leech built into it or something like that, just to make it more of a viable mercenary weapon for a playthrough. Or even just if you want to use that for your mercenary weapon because you like seeing the bone spears and everything. And, you know, an Eth one can be really strong. Gladiator's Bane could definitely use some type of buff. I don't think that it needs like a ton of anything, because it still is really good. But it could use some type of buffs that would make it more sought after to actually use on your character. So maybe like faster run walk or something on there. Like dramatically faster run walk, like 300, 200% or something that sounds crazy, but that would actually make it like, oh yeah, I'm going with the Gladiator Spain build. Like those are the type of changes that would shake something up and really, some people would get mad, but then they can just play the previous patch or a previous version of the game if they really hate it that much. I don't think that it's gonna like ruin anything. But let me know what you think. Headhunter's Glory could be cool if they added like some plus skills to it and maybe some mana per kill or something for like Javazons to want to use it or something like that, and maybe some crap assassins or something. Plus the skills, mana per kill. Templar's Might, I think, could have all skills on it. Arcane's Valor would definitely benefit from some buffs. I think that they should honestly just revert it back to patch 1.08, where they got life per character level and vitality per character level, and it had 50 fire res on it. Shaft Stop could use some buffs as well, not a whole lot. Maybe like put some life leech onto it or something. I mean, maybe not, because Shaft Stop isn't that rare compared to like Arcane's Valor. Really, the ones that I want to talk about the most are things like this, like Tyrael's Might. I think that they should put like teleport onto Tyrael's Might, honestly. Like, as rare as it is, you'll be able to make Enigma long before you find a Tyrael's Might most of the time, unless you're just some insanely lucky person at the beginning of a ladder or something. I think that it could use like IAS, it could use faster cast rate, it could have teleport on it. Like, it still, it still won't have like the plus to life or the plus to damage reduction the way that Enigma does. So I don't think it would be a massive problem. Earth Shifter could definitely use some buffs, but two-handed weapons kind of suck on here. Two-handed weapons just aren't up to par with the one-handers, with the way that the attack frames work on most attacks in the game. I think Leviathan's another one that's relatively rare that could use a buff. Like, it could use maybe being able to roll up to 50% damage reduction. That way you could just cap your damage reduction with one piece of gear. And then like the other alternatives to Enigma, I think it should have something to improve your mobility. Since this is like a really rare find, it should be a treasure to find something like this. I think that these items, these uniques that are in a certain treasure class and higher, should be able to have certain sought after aspects to where you're going to want to get them and think about considering them over Enigma or over Chains of Honor or over other stuff. Storm Shield arguably could use some stuff, maybe like faster cast rate or something. Something just to make it compete with Spirit more outside of hardcore mode. But maybe it's just good and it's healthy the way it is, just as kind of like a hardcore option. Medusa's Gaze, I think they should do something, maybe up the chance to cast lower resist. I think that would be a nice little improvement for it for sure. Meng Song's Lesson, the same way that it has negative enemy resistance, it could use plus to those skill damages on Meng Song's Lesson. I think that could make it that much more viable, because it's not bad, but it's not amazing either. Grandfather Sword definitely needs some buffs. As rare as this item is, it needs to be better than Grief, in my opinion. Some people would say it needs to be as good or a good alternative, but I think as rare as Grandfather is, it needs to be better than Grief. It needs to have some flat damage on it. It needs to have IAS. It needs to have Crushing Blow. And it needs to have Deadly Strike. And it needs to roll Ethereal while being indestructible. in order to accomplish all those previous said things. But it'll look really cool, I think, if it was ethereal. I think Stormlash could definitely have like ignore target's defense built in. It could do a little bit more damage, have some deadly strike, maybe a little bit higher low end damage, just to give it more consistent damage to make it more competitive as a melee weapon. Doombringer Wind Force. We're starting to see a pattern here. Basically, the melee weapons need to do more damage to make them in line with the rune words, and the armors need more things to make them a good alternative to Enigma and being able to teleport, and also just need some creative changes to make them fun to use. I think melee weapons in general, aside from just needing to be stronger and do more damage, they could also have some kind of cool area of effects and stuff like that on the weapon, like they cast different procs and things like that, just to make it, more entertaining to play, make it feel like a new build, essentially. And then have it synergize in a way that it actually is adding viability, not just looking at fireworks that are doing nothing, but it's actually helping as well. So that's kind of like a tightrope to walk between making something incredibly broken or making it useless. Fire Lizard's Talons. I think these could benefit from like some plus to fire skill damage, some negative to enemy fire res, just to make them a good choice for a fire traps, and I think that could be cool. Death Cleaver. I think that it should always roll Eth. Maybe not. Let me know what you think. It should definitely have Crushing Blow on it, though. I think that would be a good happy medium. Maybe give it some flat damage as well. Maybe not. I mean, I just think that it would be really cool. I've always wanted an Eth Death Cleaver. Let me know if I missed anything, though. I think that's pretty much all that I could think of in terms of the uniques that I think could use a buff on here. And there's so many different ways that they could be reworked. And that was only me going over like the rarest things in the game.